at Maxwell's new prison are disgusted she got transferred to the minimum security club fed lockup. So, okay, now the prison facility that Maxwell's going to is like for white collar criminals. Okay, white collar criminals. These are the prisoners that are from high society, you know, who have a pretty comfortable life in comparison to you know, what real prison is like. Okay. No, it's not on par what you saw from Goodfellas. Vinny, don't put too many onions in the sauce, but it's a little bit better. So Maxwell's new prison pals are discussed that the notorious trafficker was quietly transferred to a cushy prison camp known as Club Fed last week. The convicted PDF file pest, at least, come on, she was with Epstein. Come on. Was moved from a lockup in Florida to the minimum security prison camp in Byron, Texas. And I think they spelled Texas wrong because that is not how you spell Byron, Texasn. Boy, come on. Where are the editors at? As she tries to harsh out a deal with the feds to spill secrets about her late PDF file ex, Jeffrey Epstein. Every inmate I've heard from is upset she's here. Julian Howell, who's serving a 12-month stint for theft, told Telegraph, "Free my girl, Julian. She didn't do anything wrong." The facility is supposed to house nonviolent offenders, she added. Human trafficking is a violent crime. Well, yes, it is. But if you have blackmail material on the politicians and the high elite, well, Miss Maxwell is used to high society. She is not going to be living in a major prison, okay? I am sorry, folks, but it looks like justice is not going to be representing the victims. We have heard there are threats against her life, and many of us are worried about our own safety because she's here. And look, hey, you got Elizabeth Holmes carrying weights. Look at that. You know, one would think that this is a regular country club, but it looks like they're all kind of living it up a little. Anyways, the federal prison camp is a low security facility where the U.S. Bureau of Prisons said Maxwell has been transferred to continue her 20-year sentence. It just came days after she met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in an attempt to get immunity and deal to divulge what she knows about Epstein. The notorious madam is serving 20 years for helping Epstein groom and abuse underage girls. Her new prison currently houses well-known white-collar criminals like Elizabeth Holmes and the disgraced Thanatos fundraiser convicted of ripping off investors. Oh, yes. And for those of you who don't know what the company that she did, let me just highlight this, click copy and paste it, and share it with all you lovely people. What was that company that did that? Well, it was supposed to be a company that was devised, read the accuracy of blood vessels, and Elizabeth Holmes frauded a lot of the, or basically there was wire fraud conspiracy. She basically took her investors for a wild ride, not a fun ride, but a very wild ride. But let's look at the history of who Miss Maxwell is, because remember, she's part of high society. The Atlantic put on an article claiming child trafficking was a fake epidemic. Here's a photo of the owner of the Atlantic, Lorraine Powell, getting cozy with Miss Maxwell. Well, look at that. Whoa, there's Maxwell. And the owner of the Atlantic right there. Well, it looks like they're buddy. And they wrote the article called The Great Fake Child Trafficking Epidemic. Well, it's almost as if somebody gave them incentive to do that, but it's not the first time. Check this out. Newsmax. What's this?
Guilty to the sex stuff in 2008, all right? He's a dirtbag monster. Does that mean Ghislaine Maxwell is? I don't think so, folks. That's...
Whoa, Newsmax. What? Say that again? Oh, don't you be thinking on me, Internet. Don't you be thinking on me. Say it again. If I have to refresh the page, I will. You better load up. Don't play stupid.
To the sex stuff in 2008, all right? He's a dirtbag monster. Does that mean Ghislaine Maxwell is? I don't think so, folks. That's not the way our society works, not the way it's supposed to work at all. There is so much exculpatory evidence here that nobody understands, that it looks like the government kept from the defense, which is illegal, juror misconduct, you name it. And look at what happened in that court, right? Prosecutor pointing the finger. All right, just remember this image for a moment. All right, Ghislaine Maxwell's on the left. It's COVID, right? So hardly anybody's there. And the attorney, the government attorney, doesn't have to wear a mask, pointing her finger right there at Maxwell. And Jeffrey Epstein pleaded.
Wow. Wow. Much wow. Look, listen. There's a lot of things that are cringe, but that's disgusting right there. Okay, folks. Yeah, I know. It's really happening. It's really happening. I want to pull up another video here. Another video here. This is only 19 seconds of one of Miss Maxwell's victims.
She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse. I think that's an important thing for people to understand. And then she also, made threats. She made threats to my sister, to our family, when it was clear that my sister had reported her. She didn't just procure girls and women for Epstein, but she herself participated in their abuse. I think that's an important thing for people to understand. And then she also, made threats. She made threats to my sister, to our family, when it was clear that my sister had reported.
Yes. Oh, but hold on. It gets better. It gets better. I want to pull up another one of the stories here. All right. On Miss Maxwell being moved, because it's not sitting well with the world.
The idea of somebody who's serving a 20-year sentence, convicted of sexually grooming children for Epstein, sometimes participating in the abuse herself, is an upgrade like this normal?
No, this is absolutely unprecedented of what it transpired. So everybody is completely shocked. Within the Bureau of Prisons, they're under the DOJ, and she was at an FCI in Tallahassee. And with an FCI, there's really two types of prisons for women, and it's more egregious crimes. She was behind what we call the razor wire. And for her to be transferred to Bryan, which is a camp, which means no razor wire, you can literally walk off the property. And the custody level of these women, usually at a camp, are 10 years and less. And again, low-level nonviolent crimes. Hers is an egregious crime. She had what we call a management variable assigned to her, which means she is not to be moved anywhere because of the nature of her crime. So by being transferred to a camp, ordered by the DOJ to the BOP to do this, again, you've never seen this in my life.
I also want to pull this up here because, you got to remember there are victims out there. Victims out there that still can't speak because they're gone.
A wreck, because she would disappear out of shame.
Authorities declared her daughter Carolyn dead due to an overdose in May of last year. She left behind 5 children and her mother. The only person somewhat responsible was Jeffrey Epstein, who committed suicide in jail.
I couldn't even sleep in my room because I've got all Carolyn's artifacts of memories we made. And I said to my son, I said, I can't sleep in my own room. All I see is Carolyn. Who's going to fix that?
Now that more than 150 names of persons associated with Epstein have been revealed, a sense of hope invade her and only wishes that those responsible face justice, even though she still has to live without her daughter.
I was literally robbed. I was raped. I was literally raped. And those men need to know that. Not only did you rape our children, but you raped their mothers. It goes up a family tree. And they need to know that. They need to be held responsible for it.
It's very difficult to sit through. But in this day and age, where I guess you can try and worm your way out, the government will give you favors.
Justice Department plan to do with everything Ghislaine Maxwell told them yesterday and today. Her lawyer says she answered questions about roughly 100 people during her meetings with Deputy Attorney General and former personal attorney to President Trump, Todd Blanche. CNN Chief Legal Affairs Correspondent Paula Reed is with us on this. She is tracking all of the details. Do we know anything else about what they discussed, Paula?
Well, we're learning a little bit, but there's still more questions than answers. We know the two sides met today for about 3 hours. After talking through the day yesterday, once again, her lawyer said she answered every question that she was asked. She did not invoke privilege. And when really pressed on exactly what she's being asked about, her lawyer said that they've asked about every single possible thing you can imagine, but then revealed that she was asked about maybe 100 different people. She answered questions about everybody and did not hold anything back. I think that's sort of the biggest headline we've gotten out of these meetings so far. He was also asked about, where he sees all this going. Let's take a listen to what he said.
We don't know how it's going to play out. We just know that this was the first opportunity.
Yes, the first opportunity to say what? To say what exactly? Because I want to pull this up here. This is from Elon Musk. You want to know another reason why Miss Maxwell is also getting favored? Not only is she being protected by Trump, but look, U.S. Democrats in the Epstein docs. Senior members of the U.S. Democratic Party and their benefactors are listed in the Epstein documents, ex-owner Elon Musk has claimed. On Friday, Bloomberg reported that the FBI agents reviewing the files on the convicted sex offender and financer Jeffrey Epstein had identified numerous references to U.S. President Donald Trump, as well as dozens of other high-profile figures. The agency stressed that the appearance of any name is not evidence of a crime or even a suggestion of wrongdoing. Responding to the report, one ex-user suggested that when a Democrat becomes president, they'll unredact these names. Musk, however, did not agree, saying they won't because major Democrats and their donors are on the list too. He did not offer any evidence or elaborate. Well, gee, when you see Bill Clinton with Epstein, just like how close they were, it's almost like a click, copy, paste version of Epstein and Trump. In 2019, a spokesman for former President Bill Clinton confirmed that he had flown to Epstein's private aircraft multiple times, while stressing that the ex-U.S. leader had never visited Epstein's notorious private island. But yet there's a picture of good old Bill Clinton in a blue dress, George W. Bush sitting on the floor, flying airplanes into block buildings. Suspicious. Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's former lawyer, has named two Democrats, former U.S. Senator George Mitchell and former UN Ambassador Bill Richardson, as appearing in the documents, stressing that alone did not indicate any wrongdoing. In June, Musk, who had a falling out with Trump over his legislative agenda, claimed that the president was in the Epstein files, suggesting that the real reason they have not been made public. He later deleted his post, acknowledging he went too far. As you just can't post something on social media like that that's so radioactive and gigantic that people aren't going to be raising an eyebrow asking questions. Epstein was arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges involving minors, with some of the abuse occurring on his private island, Little St. James. In my opinion, we should do a full-on bombardment of that island so it doesn't stand at all. It should be at the bottom of the ocean, but that's just my opinion. The financer later died in jail, which was ruled suicide. Okay. The case was fueled intense public scrutiny driven by Epstein ties to powerful figures across politics, finance, royalty, and media, as well as rumors of a potential cover-up. Now, of course, on the campaign trail, good old Trump himself pledged to release all the documents. But in July, the U.S. authorities concluded Epstein did not keep a so-called client list. Dan Bongino's probably crying in a pillow. And Miss Maxwell is now going to a minimum security prison, much to the anger of a lot of her new roommates. That's right. You heard it here first, folks. They're upset, and they should be. I think a lot of them should be upset about this potential and horrific situation in which you are seeing exactly, a notorious and very abusive person, at least from what a lot of the victims who have said, both those who are still around and those who did pass away. Thankfully, there's video interviews of that, who have said that Maxwell is far more brutal and far more worse than Jeffrey Epstein was. Where's the justice? I think, honest to God, holy crap, it could very well happen to where Miss Epstein herself, Miss Maxwell herself, sorry, Miss Maxwell herself could actually very well get away with this. She could get a pardon. Trump has indicated that he wanted to give her a pardon, that, he's 50-50 on all of it. It's extremely wrong. It's extremely disgusting. And if this doesn't convince you that it's all part of the plan, that these rich sociopathic psychopaths are looking out for each other, I don't know what will convince you. What will it take to convince people?